It was a time of scars and upheaval after America's Civil War. In Missouri, on September 5, 1847, Jesse Woodson James was born into the tense borderlands of Clay County, a region deeply tied to Southern sympathies and slaveholding culture. Raised on a hemp farm by his parents, Reverend Robert James and Zerelda Cole James, Jesse grew up surrounded by both faith and conflict. At just 16 years old, after Union forces had harassed his family, Jesse joined the bloody guerrilla campaigns of the notorious fighter Bloody Bill Anderson. It was during this time that he participated in violent raids, including the Centralia Massacre, where unarmed Union soldiers were slaughtered. When the Civil War ended, most soldiers returned to civilian life, but Jesse James did not. Still angry over the Confederate defeat and resentful of Reconstruction policies, Jesse and his older brother Frank James turned to crime. In 1866, they carried out their first daylight bank robbery in Gallatin, Missouri. What began as vengeance quickly became a spree of violent robberies targeting banks, trains, and stagecoaches throughout the Midwest. As their crimes grew, so did Jesse's notoriety. The media of the time transformed him into a romanticized figure, a supposed Robin Hood who stole from the rich to help the poor. But in truth, there is no evidence that Jesse James ever shared his loot with anyone outside of his gang. On the contrary, the James Younger gang's actions often left ordinary citizens terrified and bloodied. Innocent bystanders were injured, a child was shot at a fair, and a train engineer was killed during a derailment. On September 7, 1876, the gang attempted one of its boldest robberies yet, the First National Bank in Northfield, Minnesota. But this time, the townspeople fought back. Armed citizens fired on the outlaws, and a violent gunfight broke out in the streets. Several members of the gang were killed or captured. Although Jesse and Frank narrowly escaped, the failed raid marked the beginning of their downfall. The myth of the untouchable outlaw was starting to crumble. Despite mounting pressure, Jesse continued his life of crime. By 1881, Missouri's Governor Thomas Crittenden placed a heavy bounty on Jesse and Frank, promising amnesty to anyone who would bring them in, dead or alive. Then came the betrayal. On April 3, 1882, Jesse James was living under an alias in St. Joseph, Missouri. That morning, while he stood on a chair to hang a picture on the wall, one of his closest companions, Robert Bob Ford, pulled out a gun and shot Jesse in the back of the head. The outlaw king of the Wild West died instantly at the age of 34. Ford surrendered immediately and was granted a pardon for the killing. Though Jesse James was gone, his legend only grew larger. He became a symbol of rebellion and lawlessness in American folklore. His story has been told through countless books, songs, films, and festivals. The famous folk ballad Jesse James immortalized him as a tragic hero. Yet historians remind us of a darker truth. Far from being a noble Robin Hood, Jesse James was more likely a ruthless opportunist, a man shaped by war, driven by vengeance, and fueled by a hunger for fame. He was less a hero of the people and more a symbol of the chaos left in the Civil War's wake. And so, the name Jesse James endures, not as a savior, but as a legend born from violence, betrayal, and myth.